Right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sterling Higa, Chairperson of the Authority. I'd now like to call to order the September 3rd, 2025 Kakaako Authority meeting of the Hawaii Community Development Authority. The time is now 10:30 a.m.
Thank you, Chair. In accordance with section 92-3.7 Hawaii Revised Statutes, the Hawaii Community Development Authority is holding today's Kakaako Board meeting virtually on Zoom. The Zoom link details were included on the meeting agenda. Therefore, members of the public are welcome to join us on Zoom and also at our physical meeting site at the American Brewery Building, 547 Queen Street, second floor, boardroom, Honolulu, Hawaii, 96813. The HCDA communications staff is hosting this meeting. Once this meeting begins, everyone will be muted for clearer audio. Board members, if you have any comments or questions, please unmute yourself to speak. It is important that all individuals clearly state their name, pseudonym, or other identifier name each time prior to speaking. If you wish to provide oral testimony and you are attending virtually, please indicate so by clicking the raise hand button found on your Zoom screen. If you are attending in person, you'll be called to the front of the room in the order that you signed up. All testimony will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. Your testimony must be related to an item on the agenda. Before you begin your testimony, we ask that you identify yourself and spell your name for the record. When 1 minute is remaining, 1 minute remains will be called out, and when 30 seconds is remaining, 30 seconds remain will be called out. When time has elapsed, time we call out after you, which you will have 30 seconds to conclude your testimony, and then your audio will be turned off. If you are attending in person, the presiding officer will call the next testifier. Keep in mind that this is an opportunity to share your thoughts with us. If you ask questions during your testimony, neither the board nor the staff is required to provide an answer. If the authority's connection for the remote meeting is lost, the meeting will be recessed until the connection is restored. If the connection cannot be restored within 30 minutes, the meeting will be terminated and the authority will continue the meeting at another notice date. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, for today's meeting, please remain visible and audible during. And also please acknowledge you are present by either saying here or present. Let the record reflect that the following members are present. Vice Chair Ishii.
Here.
Thank you. Secretary Lidstone is excused. Member Miranda Johnson.
Here.
Thank you. Member Anderson is excused. Member Evans.
Here.
Thank you. Member Strikes.
Here.
Thank you. Member China is excused. Member Sakota.
Here.
Thank you.
We have quorum here.
Great. For today's meeting, board members will have an opportunity to ask questions or provide comments after an agenda item has been presented. Individuals from the public who have requested to provide verbal public testimony on a specific agenda item are on standby and will be permitted to provide their testimony respectively. Moving to agenda item number 2, approval of minutes. These are the regular meeting minutes of August 6th, 2025. Board members, are there any comments or corrections to these minutes? Seeing none, the minutes are approved as presented. Moving to agenda item number 3, decision making. This is to consider authorizing the executive director to grant a non-exclusive easement to New Singular Wireless PCS LLC for the purposes of installing and maintaining a grounding rod located at Kolowalu Park, Honolulu, Hawaii, and further described by TMK 1 2-3-004-080 portions. Ms. Lindsay Doi, Asset Manager, will now present the staff report.
Thank you, Chair. Members, this staff report is located under tab 2 of your packet. It's a relatively straightforward request from Singular. They're requesting to attach what's called a small cell site onto an existing HECO pole. That pole is located actually just outside of the Kolowalu Mauka Park at that corner near our new crosswalk, the Waimanu and Queen Street intersection. There is a map showing the project area. It's relatively small, about 25 square feet. And the easement request would be to allow them to install a grounding rod for this small site on the HECO pole. The grounding rod is a safety feature. It's actually a required feature that's necessary for safety and for equipment protection. So it is, again, relatively straightforward, but we do have a representative from the company, Nicole Caldwell, who is available if you have any technical questions as to what that work might entail.
Great. Thank you. Members, any comments or questions? Member Strikes.
Just for that ground rod, that is going to be
entirely within the sidewalk / right of way?
Yes, so not, you mean not inside of the park where?
Yeah,
Correct, so it would, the Hiko pole on the map, you can kind of see it's right there in the sidewalk. It would be, pretty close by to that pole. It just kind of goes straight down into the concrete over there.
okay, so it won't affect pedestrians traversing over. Obstacles and that.
Should not, they're trying to keep it as minimally invasive as possible. But again, it is necessary just for the safety of the equipment and then for the, I guess, electrical components of that.
Great, thanks. Members, any other comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll open public testimony. Do we have any persons pre-signed up for testimony on this agenda item? Any persons present or online wishing to provide testimony on this agenda item?
Like none, Chair.
Okay, seeing none, we'll close public testimony. Members, any questions or comments? This is for decision making, so is there a motion for the board to authorize the executive director to grant a non-exclusive easement to New Singular Wireless PCS LLC for the purposes of installing and maintaining a grounding rod located at Polowalu Park, Honolulu, Hawaii, and further described by TMK 2-3-004-080 portions in accordance with the terms and conditions described in the staff report and undertake all tasks necessary to effectuate the purposes of this for action. Do I hear such a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Thank you, Member Evans. Moved by Member Evans. Do I hear a second from Member Sakota?
Yes, second.
Thank you. Seconded by Member Sakota. Members, is there any further discussion on the motion made by Member Evans and seconded by Member Sakota? If not, I will ask Lindsay to take the roll call vote.
Members, that motion has been made and seconded. On that motion, Member Evans,
Aye.
Member Streets,
Aye.
Member Sakota,
Yes.
Vice Chair Ishii,
Yes.
Member Miranda Johnson,
Yes.
and Chair Higa.
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 in favor and 3 excused. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you. We'll move now to the next agenda item. Consider authorizing the executive director to schedule hearings pursuant to Chapter 91 Hawaii Revised Statutes HRS and Chapter 201M HRS regarding a proposed amendment to the 2024 Kakaako Mauka Area Rules, Chapter 15-217 2024 Mauka Area Rules, Hawaii Administrative Rules, Section 15-217-57C, to change the maximum floor area ratio from 3.5 to 1.5 to address inadequate infrastructure and floor area requirements in the central Kakaako neighborhood zone. Mr. Ryan Tam, Director of Planning and Development, will now present the staff report. Mr. Ryan Tam.
Good morning, Chair Higa and board members. Again, the background, you do have a copy of the staff report in your packets. Again, the 2024 Mauka Area Rules took effect this past January. We had modified Section 15-217-57 to raise the allowable density in central Kakaako to floor area ratio FAR 3.5. But we changed the calculation of floor area, our definition of floor area, to include structured parking, which previous studies had found was equivalent to about 2.0 FAR. So the idea was to disincentivize parking, on-site parking, off-street parking, and the use of automobiles, and again, support the city's policies to promote more transit-oriented development and more walkable communities. The City Council in 2016, Honolulu City Council had adopted Ordinance 1621, which had identified the Central Kakaako neighborhood zone as a demonstration area to preserve and promotes, protect kind of, small business industrial uses within TOD areas. And the idea was to, protect this kind of industrial small businesses in light of all the potential development pressures that they could face with the upcoming development of the rail stations in Kakaako and the rest of the city. So that ordinance, which was adopted for a 10-year period starting July 1st, 2017, required applicants to get HCDA to certify that the maximum floor area for the district for this area is 1.5, and then to refile that every 2 years. So when we switched our definition of floor area and when we changed our maximum floor area, kind of the unanticipated consequence of this was that these businesses no longer qualify for this tax exemption. So at the time when we wrote the staff report, and I think we still don't know whether or not the city and county will apply them to change the 2026 assessments. The program is set to end on June 30th, 2027. You know, typically over the last 10 years, according to our records, you know, it's affected, this program has affected about 143-ish, around approximately 143 TMKs parcels. In the last several years, we've had about 50 to 70 kind of applicants requesting certification. The impact on city tax assessments valuations is roughly about 70 to $90 million. The actual physical impact to the city, based on our calculations, is somewhere around over the last several years has been around 800 to about $1 million per year. On average, the average parcel has had their taxes kind of reduced by about $12,000, ranges up to $70,000. So this property tax exemption has been for these business owners in Central Kakaako, has been, from what we hear, the feedback that we get has been very, very important to them. Some of the feedback that we've been getting is that, you know, without this tax exemption, it would make their businesses potentially unviable. So our staff request is to basically allow us to schedule hearings to adjust our rules back from 3.5 back down to 1.5 with the appropriate caveats, again, to address the inadequate infrastructure and floor area issues in Central Kakaako. Again, the relevant rule, again, 15217-57 does allow the executive director to allow development if sufficient infrastructure is provided. And then if the entire, you know, corridor does get improved, then the floor area ratio, the maximum floor area ratio could be increased up to that of the rest of the district. So we want to basically clarify that. we're not sure if this is gonna address the situation for this coming tax year, because the city may already be doing their tax assessments. We may not get the rules done in time. But by us doing this, making this rule change in an expedient manner. So by doing the rule change now, and getting it done as soon as we can, we think it may allow them to file a claim or file a appeal. You know, it's possible. To the tax exemption if they don't get it.
Members.
Can I add,
Yeah, please.
add something to the chair? Add to what Ryan said. So this request, just to clarify, this request to go out for a hearing is and to change the bulk area rules is strictly limited to address this particular situation. We are not going out for any other Malka area rule changes at this time. This is only to address this inadequate infrastructure issue in central Kakaako, which is a very sort of laser focused, narrow thing that we need to correct. That's one thing. Ryan is right that we've been getting a lot of calls. I've gotten a few calls from central Kakaako business owners on the impact of it. And I think if we're addressing if the situation were that these landowners were facing a sunset of the bill in 2027, they hopefully would have planned for that and can budget for that. But this is an unexpected occurrence, so they haven't sort of, in fairness to them, budgeted for this. So there's some unexpected impact from this. The third thing is that we've been working and talking to city folks and staff about this, either through email or meetings about this, and it is being taken seriously at city level, administration levels. Council members, Dos Santos Tam and Nishimoto introduced Council Bill 61 that tries to address this situation, and then says that, accounts for this change in the floor area, and then also, makes the effect of it retroactive to January 2024, so that, people who have applied can kind of take advantage of, the exemption. So that Bill 61 is just been introduced and they're pushing it. So they're trying to address, this on a retroactive basis. Whether or not that passes core muster, I'm not sure, but that's the bill. So either way, I think we still want to proceed with these public hearings to really narrowly change the bulk area rules, and not to change really anything else, Chair, on this one. And at least try to help these small businesses in central Kakaako with their real property tax burden. So appreciate that, Chair.
Thank you, staff. Members, comments or questions? Member Evans.
Chair, I think Executive Director Nakamoto answered my question. The change would allow these small businesses in central Kakaako to, as long as the city is able to extend the tax exemption, qualify for it. Is that correct?
That's right. That's
Okay,
right.
then I would be strongly in favor of that.
And whether or not the council will extend it beyond June 30th is a whole nother question, right? And we aren't commenting on that, but at least I think if we try to do our part and align it back and correct this unintended consequences, I think we'll have felt like we've done our part to help this and to help these landowners in this unexpected situation. Thank you, member.
Members, any other, I see member Sakota.
Yeah, so was the drive to raise the FAR to 3.5 mainly driven by the new developments in Kakaako?
No, the 3.5 was, so we did it district throughout the district Again, we changed our definition, so we included parking, above ground parking structures as floor area. Previously, we had not counted it. So in order to kind of keep everybody whole, we increased the FAR
Okay.
to.
Because it seems like the issue is mainly around parking, yeah? I mean, a lot of these smaller lots essentially have parking lots in front of them or on the side, and if you include that, it just makes the FAR much higher. And excluding it brings it back down into reasonable levels. Is that the case?
The parking, on, let's say, Queen Street or other places right now, a lot of the parking is occurring in the right of way. I think this rule was intended to address a different situation.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and again, I think the floor area, when we count it as floor area, it's actually structured parking, so it's kind of enclosed in the structure. I think the other, yeah, so I think we were just trying to kind of be consistent. Again, the limitation to the 1.5 FAR is, at least historically in our rules, was more related to the inadequate infrastructure. I'd also point out that I think in the Malca area plans, and all the studies that HCDA has kind of done over the years, has kind of recognized the value of kind of a balanced district, a mixed use district that doesn't include industrial, and kind of the historic nature of this area, Central Kakaako. Portions of the Central Kakaako neighborhood zone like kind of the eastern portion, they were designated as TOD incentive zones, however, so they do in those areas, for those parcels, they do qualify for the taller buildings, more density, provided that there's sufficient infrastructure.
Okay. Am I understanding it correctly that like parking is a big component of this calculation, or excluding it is a big component of the?
Yeah, sorry. So the other, I think when we did it throughout the district, the intent to include parking as FAR was to let developers and kind of let the market decide whether or not it's more valuable to provide parking, or if it's more valuable to provide more housing or more shops. So that was the intent was to kind of put a market force, especially with the increased transit going into the district. So.
Great.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Sakota. Member Strikes.
Well, I guess I'm a little confused why the board needs to take action on this now, because we do have a way to rectify the problem through Bill 61 that's introduced today at the Honolulu City Council. I think a more appropriate action might be just for the board or the agency to support that and see that passed, because I think changing back to a lower FAR is kind of going backwards. Where Kakaako is a TOD area, we should be encouraging higher density. And like you mentioned, Ryan, accounting for parking adds that accountability for, that considering those trade-offs by providing parking and disincentivizing that in a TOD area. So I guess I would personally prefer just to defer this to see how it proceeds through city council. So and I guess on top of that too, I'm not sure you've gotten an interpretation about that FAR, because I don't know if it has to be limited to 1.5, or you can just certify that they only built to 1.5 that they are, and that qualifies for the exemption.
So let me try to address your question partly and then Ryan jump in. So member Strides. I take your comment on maybe not doing this amendment. Here's one concern. So the bill was introduced. As I mentioned, it has a retroactive application, which I think is maybe problematic for core. So I'm not sure that we should just rely on the passage of this, city council bill as a solution to this. Right now, we have tried in the last several months, knowing that the ordinance 1621 refers to 1.5 FER in the central Kakaako. Then when we amended our rules, we changed it to 3.5 because of the reasons Ryan cited. So it created this misalignment. Now, we thought that after meeting with RPAD, Real Property Tax Division, that we could, if we just had a letter that said we determined that it's inadequate for even 3.5, right, FAR, that would satisfy Real Property Tax Division, but that did not satisfy them. It had to be 1.5 and 1.5 and aligned that way, our rules and and 1621. That's why the city council bill is saying that they'll approve an exemption if they're eligible for one for floor area ratios between 1.5 and 3.5, just to account for if this didn't, we didn't get the rule changed or we did, and it's going retro. So that's, I think, what we're trying to solve, member Strides.
Chair.
Please, member Evans.
Planning has to accommodate a balance of priorities and goals. And our economy and our businesses are very much an equal partner in that, providing quality of life for our residents. And so while the goal of incorporating parking into an FAR is a good one in general, this is historically a business district. And it's a business district with small lots, small landowners, and thriving businesses. And so as the ex officio voting member from DBED, the Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism, I think that the proposed recommendation before the board is really a good one, and I would want to see it pass.
Thank you, member Evans. Members, any other comments or questions? Just want to note that taking this action authorizes the executive director, but does not require. So if the Honolulu City Council magically passes the bill and it resolves the issue very quickly, we may not need to do this. But I do think it's important, member Strides, that this process of scheduling hearings and going through these rule change will be important. If for some reason the city council does not take this action, these businesses will likely be dramatically impacted. So my preference is that we take this action so that we can forestall any significant impact on those businesses without relying on our good friends in Honolulu Hale.
Yeah, and thank you, Chair. And so if we get this authorization, then we'll be looking to schedule, hearings, as soon as possible on this, just so that it's available in the event that RPAD decides that they can use this modified rule in appeals. That's what we're kind of hoping to help the most. Thank you.
Sure, if I may, and I think we're also, as we craft kind of the language, we can tweak it to make sure that we don't that it limits it as, until the infrastructure is improved, and that it's still, once that is done, once there's infrastructure, once the capacity is there, then it could allow, more development, more opportunity.
So I just want to get some clarification. And Chair, thanks for pointing out that this is only authorizing, but not, I guess, directing that it actually go through. But if the city council does approve Bill 61 from this year, would it be your intent to follow through with amending the rules for that process? I guess the board would ultimately need to approve that.
I think if the city council were able to pass this bill and the mayor signs it into law, and they do it expeditiously, and I wanna say within the next month or so.
Well, that's not, so it has to go, 3 months minimum.
Yeah, but that's why, so I'm, that's sort of my point respectively, I mean that. I think. If we get this authorization, I would be looking to try to schedule public hearings. In October, mid-October, and do the required presentation and decision-making hearing in October, even maybe schedule a special meeting for that purpose. I mean, and we have to give 30 days notice for that, so as soon as we can. Cause I don't know if I wanna wait that long, I mean. So, yeah,
Okay, and so after it goes through the process, then the action would come before the board, maybe like November, December?
I would say, I'm hoping that we can do it even sooner than that, I'm hoping we can do it sooner than that. But it all, because this requires a presentation and a decision-making hearing, it's gonna require, published notice, and we gotta get that out, and then, hold a meeting, and I'm hoping to do it sooner.
It would come back before the
Yeah.
board, though.
Yeah, it's gonna come back because the presentation hearing and then final DM decision making
Okay,
on the rule amendment.
yeah, I'm just wondering if it's kind of an unnecessary effort. Because like you pointed out, they put in a range in the bill kind of to account for, different scenarios. So it seems like their intent is to really push this forward. So are we just creating more work for ourselves?
Well, again, in all sort of due respect on this one, yes, it is creating work. But the way I look at it, we created this situation with this inadvertence. So I feel personally that I want to do everything I can to correct this, if that makes sense, Member Strike. I mean, this was like, as Ryan mentioned, it was inadvertent, right? We didn't think about the consequences of what this would have on 1621. So I feel accountable for this, and therefore I think, yes, it's more work, but I think it's work that we gotta do to correct this on our side, I have no control over RPAD and how they're gonna recognize it on appeal.
Yeah, and I understand, that part, the financial burden was inadvertent, but it was purposeful to incentivize density in TOD.
Yeah, it was, so I don't mean to say it was inadvertent and went up to 3.5, the consequence was inadvertent. But I think, and maybe Ryan can correct this, but this inclusion of 2.0 FAR that takes into account structured parking, when we did the Mauke rules, we had a consultant look at this, and it was determined that that was generally what structured parking, what the FAR was for structured parking. But I think it also goes hand in hand, Member Strikes, you can't just take this in isolation. It went in conjunction with the no parking minimums, right, that we instituted in Mauke rules.
Yeah, to be consistent with the city.
Yeah, so it kind of works hand in hand with that. You can't just look at it in isolation like with this one. So we took away the parking minimums, off-site parking minimum, on-site parking minimum.
Staff, is there a way, is it possible to modify the administrative rules such that HCDA can certify at 1.5 floor area ratio? My understanding, Member Triggs, if I'm correct, is your concern is in the long run, we would like to increase the floor area ratios of these parcels to result in more development potential, different kinds of uses. And so moving the FAR back doesn't allow us to pursue that direction. However, I wonder, staff, is there a way that we can modify the administrative rules to allow for certifying projects at 1.5 FAR?
Yeah,
Because
I believe so.
the way that I understand this council ordinance is they are looking for HCDA to make a certification. But we do not have the latitude to make a certification currently that is incompatible with our zoning.
We don't, right now, because of the 3.5, our certification is incompatible with their 1.5 FAR at 1621.
But if we were, so rather than the motion as currently proposed, if we were to add maybe an optional clause that HCDA could also consider modifying this section of the administrative rules to allow for the certification of properties at a lower FAR than the permitted FAR or than the.
Chair, I know that sounds like an attractive compromise, but I've had some experience with tax departments. And they have a mission to interpret both assessments and the qualifying exemptions as strictly as possible in order to increase revenues.
Okay.
So while it might make sense to us.
Yes, not to our pad, I understood. All right,
Yeah, and I'm sorry, one more comment, just not to beat that one, but I think to take on that, I mean, real property or tax exemptions, I think are interpreted generally very narrowly. And so if we had language like that, what I would be afraid of is the RPAD interprets it very, very narrowly. And we go through the rulemaking and then they reject it, and then we're back at sort of square one.
got it,
It's a good suggestion.
understood. Members, any other questions or comments? All right, we'll move now to public testimony on this item. There is a bunch of public testimony. We have one written testimony submitted for comment only and a bunch of people pre-signed up for testimony. So we'll go in the order in which people signed up, starting with Brad Nikolai.
And we have 3 minutes each.
3 minutes each for testimony. Please clearly state your name, pseudonym, or other identifier name, and if desired, any organization you're representing.
Brad Nikolai, NICOLAI, just representing JN Group. We're business operator and owner in Kakaako and also lessee. Also a user of Kakaako Makai on a regular basis. Thank you, Mr. Nakamoto, Chair and board members. This is just a follow-up to our Kakaako community meeting that was held August 19th with stakeholders that incorporated residents, employers, and also community members. We were able to garner up about 125 people just to kind of sit down and get a better understanding of what was proposed with the affordable housing developments that HCDA was presenting. That was really the first time that everyone had an opportunity to really see the direction. Also understanding just the implications that a lot of the decisions that are made are gonna affect us over the long term. And HCDA has done a good job shepherding over many years, managed development, and just more concerned in the sense that on HCDA controlled properties that are driving development. We understand that the strategic is intent to add more affordable housing, which I think as local Kama'aina, we're all in support of. But also with the mission of HCDA is to better understand that all forms of affordable housing has been contemplated. And I think in particular, whenever an organization is self-managing itself, there needs to be even more stakeholder input. So it's not just self-governed. And taking into consideration, there's a diverse community when you think about just how Kakaako has developed, not just from a residential standpoint, but all the small businesses that have created their own communities throughout, the employees that work there, and just the community members that, like myself, whether I enjoy Kewalo Basin every single day or just the parks around. I think it's a careful balance on creating the right type of environments that HCDA has set forth on building better communities. Especially when you're taking into consideration different ideas, whether it's the 99-year leasehold program, or high density urban developments that contemplate taxpayer dollars. You know, there's other alternatives too that should also be considered. Just like the industrial commercial spaces that are currently the makeup of a lot of Kakaako. There's probably opportunities for landowners to repurpose it for more affordable rentals that might better serve not just the 140% AMI, but those that are truly in need that actually work in those areas. So we just wanted to bring it, the attention to that as well before advancing further tax dollars down a path that's really aligned with, I know, the strategic intent of HCDA, but may not fully contemplate the live, work, play environment that
You have 15 seconds to wrap.
makes up everybody there in Kakaako. So as a result, we oppose the way the current affordable projects have been presented for P1, P2, and P3, based on the fact that there hasn't been enough stakeholder input to further advance and contemplate all forms of affordable housing development.
Thank you, Mr. Nicola.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move now to the second person scheduled to testify. This is Eric Clark.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Clark. You have 3 minutes.
I'm on the board of AOAO of Symphony and Vanguard and very familiar with the whole community in the area. And when we had that community-led hearing that you presented at, I know everybody there was the first time they saw that information. And I would like to see more transparency. Clearly that work product required a lead time. It wasn't done in a day or a week, probably months, we don't know. But, you know, my personal experience, you know, being involved with these high density projects in that particular area and others, it is not always the lowest cost. And as you all know, the maintenance fees have gone up dramatically. Maintenance fees have gone up so much in the first year or two that there's been public reporting on it. 30 to 75% increases, you know, within the first couple of years. And the stats that were cited in that meeting at Velocity talk about 140% of the median household income. Ultimately, we don't think that this project makes sense based on affordable housing. And that seeing the pronouncement that lifted the boundaries of HCDA, I urge you to look at other areas along Hart where you would be able to deliver lower cost product and provide a fee to the individuals that would be owners, you know, as opposed to leasehold tenants. Thank you for hearing us today.
Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. The next person registered to testify is Sarah Freeman.
Morning, Ms. Freeman.
Good morning.
Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Sarah Freeman. I am a Kakaako resident, a small business owner, and a regular user of Kakaako Makai. And before I begin, I do want to acknowledge that there were several other stakeholders who wished to speak today who were unable to attend due to work obligations, and some were able to join briefly but couldn't stay for the full duration. So we share their voices and concerns as part of a broader community effort to engage in this process. So I would like to respectfully request that HCDA allow F45 Ala Moana to remain as a tenant at 956 Kauai House Street until redevelopment is ready to begin. And I'm very cold. Why this request aligns with community and agency goals, We serve a growing community of over 600 local residents who rely on our health and wellness programs. These services provide measurable benefits to physical health, mental well-being, and social connection. Our presence supports HCDA's mission of building strong, active, and inclusive communities. Through our programs, we foster healthier lifestyles and strengthen the social fabric of the neighborhood. We currently pay market rent, contributing to stable and predictable income to HCDA while making a productive use of the property. And as an established and successful operator, we require no additional transition or setup time. This ensures uninterrupted benefits to the community. And our ongoing presence contributes to neighborhood vibrancy and safety, supporting other small businesses and helping revitalize streets that were once dominated by abandoned buildings and illicit activity.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next person registered to testify is Keith Winnicott.
Morning, Mr. Winnicott.
Hi. Thank you all for your time. My name is Keith Winnicott, the owner of F45 Ala Moana, also a Kakaako resident. I've got a long list of questions and I know it's not necessarily a Q&A, so I'm gonna run through the questions. These are kind of questions that have come up since the town hall meeting from our community, so I tried to condense them down into a digestible format, but I think the goal is we'd like to hear kind of clear answers from the board. Craig already had a chance to address those, but on these topics, just to ensure transparency, accountability, and best process moving forward. So a few of these around the decision-making process is, what did HCDA do to pre-select Kapuna Shed for the F45 site? Does state law allow for HCDA to pre-select specific entities without a competitive process? Does state procurement law apply to this type of transaction? Who, in addition to the selected entity, Kapuna Shed and the HCDA, supported or approved this transaction? What are the proposed lease terms for the Kapuna Shed at the 956 Kauai House Street or 955 Waimanu location? Will they pay market rent? If rent is below market, who negotiated and approved that amount? How did HCDA determine that a lesser amount was acceptable? Does state law allow for below market rent to be granted to a private entity? Is it within HCDA's legal role to place specific non-government entities within its community districts? If not, why is HCDA doing this for the Kapuna Shed? What other locations were considered for the Kapuna Shed during deciding on the location of 955 Waimanu Street? And why was this particular site selected over other alternatives? So I know that was a lot of questions. And we're not gonna be able to get to that in the 3 minutes. However, I do think those are questions our community has that would be great to have transparency on to better understand the process and moving forward.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
are you able to submit those in writing as well?
Absolutely.
That'd be helpful.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess as a clarifying point, just to before, because there's a couple of seconds left. At the town hall, it was indicated that the transaction would likely close on August 25th. Did that transaction close and is there an update on that?
Yeah, we'll answer the chair. So as I reported at the town hall, the transaction to purchase that property was scheduled to close on August 25th, but it will close on September 8th.
September 8th. Is the plan still in place in the short term to move Kapuna Shed into that space prior to redevelopment into a affordable tower?
As I mentioned, there was the overall goal for that property, and that's what the board approved this for, is in the long term to have workforce or affordable housing there of some sort, whether it's rental or other. And then maybe in the short term to have a community facility like Kapuna Shed there. Whether or not Kapuna Shed after September 8th moves in there in a month or two is still up in the air, Mr. Winnicott, I don't know. And since you're on this topic, and I think I've said this a couple times to you, and maybe 1 or 2 times to the until there's some kind of firm development timetable and plans for that particular parcel. It is not in our interest to, early terminate, the F-45 from the parcel. I do note that your lease expires in October of 2026. At that point, the lease is expired and done. But until we have some firm development plans for that parcel and the timeline, I think I value having F-45 there, paying rent, being a good tenant, maintaining the building as per its lease terms, and also providing activation for that site. So I have no intention of prematurely either, terminating that lease until we have a definitive timetable. As I think I mentioned at the town hall, and maybe Mr. Nikolai is familiar with this too. Development is subject to some conditions that are out of a developer's control, like market conditions, interest rates, construction costs, all those things. So that all plays into the development timetable. And so if you ask me right now when that timetable is, I don't know that schedule, and I don't know when or not your lease would terminate or expire. But it's not in the agency's best interest to prematurely terminate that lease. You're a good tenant, you provide, a good service. I think when I went in there, I don't know, several years ago to investigate a noise complaint that then Speaker Psyche asked me to look into. I saw a lot of people enjoying their time there, so I have no intent on prematurely terminating a lease until we have a definitive time schedule. But having said that, and I try to be clear about these things. There is a proposed development for that property. The time is gonna come when, your lease, it may have to be, terminated early, or it's just gonna expire and not get renewed. That's just the reality.
Yeah.
Mr. Winnicott. And I don't wanna be unclear about that, because development is gonna come to that lot. We purchased it for a purpose.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, I
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Winnicott. Those were the people pre-signed up to testimony. Is there anyone either present or online who wishes to provide testimony on this
Back there.
item? Please.
Please come forward. Can you state your name and affiliation?
Good morning. My name is Ariel White. Ariel White.
Okay,
I currently work for F-45, but I've worked in the neighborhood for the past 6+ years. I opened the Whole Foods Market in Kakaako. I was one of the first managers there. I just want to acknowledge, thank you. At the town hall, you were not clear about early terminating the lease that we had. So I appreciate you being very clear that you have no intention for that. Thank you. Just to follow up what Mr. Winnicott said, a lot of the decisions on what's happened in the interim between when affordable housing is to go to the parcel and our current lease were made without transparency, what we feel is a fair process, and without input from the Kakaako community that would be directly affected. We asked HCDA to explain how these actions align with its mission to serve the broader community. And on that topic, former Speaker Sakai was at the town hall meeting, and we were told that it would be brought back to this board that the possibility of having these board meetings at a time where the Kakaako community can show up, which would be in the afternoons. And there's already a site that has volunteered their premises, which is Velocity. Has that been brought to the board?
It's in a piece of testimony that was provided to the board, yeah.
Okay, has the board discussed that option?
No, the testimony was just submitted for this meeting.
It was just submitted for this meeting. Okay, just to acknowledge that. And here you have maybe about 20 seats. As you heard, we had 125 people at that town hall meeting, because it is a time where the people in Kakaako who live and work can come participate in what is happening to their neighborhood. Whereas right now, they are working. You have 4 people here who had to take time off of their jobs in order to come to participate into this meeting. So I would appreciate if that could be discussed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
White.
Anyone else present or online wishing to provide testimony on this item? I see one online. Chrissy, anyone in person before we go online?
No,
Okay, I see a Chrissy Penny online.
Ms. Penny?
That person has to unmute themselves, we can't.
Chrissy, if you can, you should be able to unmute yourself now. Maybe they stepped away.
Okay.
Anyone else online or in person wishing to provide testimony?
None, Chair.
Oh, I see one other raised hand online.
Good afternoon. My name is Richard Lee, LI.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Lee.
This is more just a thank you for taking the time to hear out the people that are in support of that space by F45. Again, I am a member. I've been a member for a very long time. And I just want to say how much it affects people in the community. And just hope you continue to take that into your consideration for moving forward in the future.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Richard.
Thank you, sir.
Ms.
Chrissy, if you're there, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Still muted.
We'll just wait like 15 more seconds. Members, any other questions or comments on this agenda item? Okay, I don't see Chris's hand anymore either.
Okay.
Is there a motion for the board to authorize the executive director to schedule hearings pursuant to Chapter 91 Hawaii Revised Statutes HRS and Chapter 201M HRS regarding a proposed amendment to the 2024 Kakaako Mauka Area Rules, Chapter 15-217 2024 Mauka Area Rules, Hawaii Administrative Rules, Section 15-217-57C, to change the maximum floor area ratio from 3.5 to 1.5 to address inadequate infrastructure and floor area requirements in the central Kakaako neighborhood zone. Do I hear such a motion?
So moved.
Moved by member Evans. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it, Kevin Sakota.
Seconded by member Sakota. Thank you, members. Is there any further discussion on the motion made by member Evans and seconded by member Sakota? Member Schwartz.
Yeah, I think, I'm gonna still stick with my concerns as, previously stated as it relates to density and accountability for parking, but I'm willing to go along for now with, staff recommendation to start the process and see what kind of feedback gets provided through that, and as well as then take into account the actual end result that comes before the board before, making judgment on that. But I am also curious through this process to see what kind of interest there is, because it sounds like it was an issue, but we didn't hear any direct testimony supporting this. Seemed like that was for another topic that was just raised, but I don't know if there is a way to note reservations. That's how I would be voting.
Your reservations are noted, member Schwartz. Members, any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I will now ask Ryan to take the roll call vote.
Chair Higa,
Aye.
Vice Chair Ishii,
Yes.
Secretary Lindstone is excused. Member Miranda Johnson,
Yes.
Member Anderson is excused. Member Evans,
Yes.
Member Schweitz,
Yes.
Member Chena is excused, and Member Sakota.
Yes.
Motion passes with 6 yes votes, no votes, 3 excused, and 0 abstained.
And also just note for the record, member Straits says yes with reservations.
Yes. And let the record reflect that member Strites has reservations.
Yes.
Moving now to agenda item number 4, the report of the executive director. This is the monthly report and other status report, including approved permit hearings that did not require HRS 206E-5.6 public hearings. Executive Director Nakamoto will now present his monthly report.
Just a couple of items, I think highlights in the interest of time, where actually this one is a low light. You know, at the small dog park, we had to close the small dog park, and it's gonna be indefinitely. We discovered that someone, and probably with good intentions, but unintended consequences, had dumped some mulch on a bare area in the small dog park. Now, in any other place, that mulch might have been okay, but I would note that the mulch that we use in both the small and dog park in the planter area is a specially engineered and manufactured mulch that is safe for dogs. And is very expensive. So the mulch that was illegally dumped there would be harmful to dogs and probably harms the grass as well. So we've had to close it, and we're gonna have our groundskeeper and landscaper remove that mulch. And so it'll keep the small dog park closed for a little bit. The large dog park is kind of improving after the long closure. The second item is Kakaako Street improvement. So we're on Ilani Y Street. We're continuing to work with Wilson Okamoto to come up with some preliminary designs for that, and then we'll go up to the community probably in Q4 of this year with an update. So thank you, Chair and members of the board.
Thank you. Members, any comments or questions? I just have a question about our vigilante landscaper. Like, what quantity of mulch are we talking about?
I'll ask.
How much mulch?
I think it was a ton of mulch.
A ton?
No.
Oh, okay.
It was substantial, so it wasn't just a, hey, let's take a little handful and put it here. It was wheelbarrows, so the removal of the mulch.
Multiple wheelbarrows.
I think 20, those contractor garbage bags,
Wow.
like about 20 of them. So it wasn't, it actually probably cost this person or person's money,
Yes.
to buy. It's a large quantity. Unless they had mulch lying around, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But it was definitely deliberate, they had to expend significant effort getting it in and putting it down without permission.
Is there a way, Lindsay, for vigilante landscapers to like donate the proper mulch to HCDA?
I suppose they could definitely, reach out to us. It is a very specific mulch, like Craig mentioned. It has to be shipped in, brought in, so it is very expensive. We did just procure a large shipment of it, and we were waiting to install it when this occurred, so yeah, that set us back a bit. But we do have intentions to make repairs and to put the proper mulch down.
What might be good if vigilante landscapers or others, you wanna donate money, for a specific purpose. I think we can accept gifts, so we could accept money. Garrett's shaking his head a little bit, but
You should reach out to
yeah, but
us.
we just reach out to us and we can find a way.
Right. So in the future, it'd be better for people who want to help the park to reach out to HCDA staff.
Because it actually did cost us about $500 to remove it. So that's money we had to expend for perhaps a good deed, but it ended up costing us.
Thank you. Members, any other comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll open public testimony. Do we have any persons pre-signed up for testimony on this agenda item? Any persons present or online who wish to provide testimony? Seeing none, we'll close public testimony and now move to adjourn our meeting. Thank you to those of you who joined us via Zoom and in person, and that concludes our business for today. The meeting is adjourned. The time is now 11:34 a.m. Thank you, board members.
Thank you. Thank you, members of the public.
Thank you.